Lawmakers are now going to have to pay a $5,000 fine for refusing to walk through the metal detector. Lawmakers are going to have to pay a $10,000 fine for refusing to go through a second time. And this is going to impact a lot of these freshman Republican lawmakers, especially, who have taken this as a rally cry to speak about how they're now in communist America, Joe Biden's America. There's one tweet in particular from Congresswoman Debbie Lesko, who said, "For members of Congress to enter the floor of the U.S. House, we now have to go through intense security measures. On top of the security we already go through, these new provisions include searches and being wanded like criminals. We now live in Pelosi's communist America." Let me just say that I never want to go to an airport with Congresswoman Debbie Lesko, because that's what we have to do anyway. Those are the regular conditions that regular Americans have to go through since 9/11, basically, in a number of different instances, from airports to stadiums to any type of arena, and even kids in schools. Kids in schools, because of, as a direct result of Republicans' inaction against gun violence. And so because Republicans refuse to acknowledge or fight against gun violence in this country, kids are then forced and subjected to these exact measures that Republican grown congresswomen and men are railing against, which, none of them, while kids live in this dystopian hellscape where they have to walk through metal detectors to get in schools, wear bulletproof backpacks, none of the Republicans say anything. All they say is, I'm an A-rated member of the NRA. But while kids have to take these steps that Republicans are now complaining about, well, it's silence from the Republican Party. It's silence from all these members who think that these instances are communist, and yet when other people have to go through them, well, that's just cost of doing business. This way they can keep cashing their checks from the NRA. Also, isn't it the Republican mantra that you just have to follow the law, follow the rules, and then and that's it? When the rules are imposed, you just follow them, right? Wasn't that the whole thing, the whole rally cry during the Black Lives Matter protest? Well, just follow the law and then you won't get hurt. Follow the rules and then you have nothing to worry about. And yet, when the rules are imposed here, which, by the way, are only intended to keep them safe, because there was just an armed insurrection at the Capitol. And now there's reports that that members of Congress may have been involved in those very efforts. When there are rules imposed to keep these people safe, well, suddenly they're railing against them. Suddenly the whole issue of this whole notion of, oh, just follow the rules and then you'll be totally fine, that goes out the window. Now it's, whoa, you want us to follow the rules? We're okay. We're totally okay with saying that all these Black Lives Matter protesters, if they just follow the rules, everything will be okay and they don't have anything to worry about. But when we Republicans, God-fearing patriots, have to follow the rules, whoa, suddenly we're not okay with that. Walk through a metal detector? Talk about communist America. Might as well be Venezuela. Walk through a metal detector. Forget the fact that there was just an armed insurrection like 72 hours ago, I think. I don't know how many days actually ago this was. I don't know how many days I've actually slept since then. That's not the only rule that Pelosi has implemented. There is another rules change implementing a mandatory mask policy on the floor. Members will now be fined for non-compliance, and that includes a $500 fine for the first offense and a $2,500 fine for the second offense. And this comes after a number of lawmakers once again threw a fit at the very prospect of having to wear a mask in the middle of a pandemic where 380,000 Americans have already died. But wear a mask? I don't think so. And so I wanted to play this video right here. This is the footage during the lockdown when the members of Congress were put in a secure location during the insurrection. This is the reaction from a bunch of Republican lawmakers when asked to wear a mask.
I'm not trying to get political here. In fact, I'm just going to leave it alone, but I appreciate you. She is a nice lady. Who said that?
And so that's what we're dealing with right now, because it's a joke to them. Because it is a joke to them, a number of Democratic lawmakers who had hidden out with these Republican lawmakers who made an entire made a whole joke of putting a mask on. A number of Democratic lawmakers have since contracted the virus. Jayapal, I believe, contracted coronavirus. And there's another member of Congress, I don't have her name on me right now, but she's, I believe, a 75-year-old cancer survivor who has now been hospitalized after contracting coronavirus because she was in the same room as these Republicans who refused to put on masks. And so, if they can't kill these people one way, the Republicans are trying to kill them any way they actually can. If it's not these people who are now, certain people, like I mentioned before, are being looked into for having possibly been involved in the insurrection, in giving them reconnaissance tours around the halls of Congress so that they would know where to go. If it's not those people who are responsible for lives being lost, then they'll do it through COVID. And the ironic thing is that all of this pushback against masks, against these metal detectors, it's all being folded into this big Republican complaint of they're being censored, their freedoms are being taken away. I know that the big story obviously is that Trump's Twitter has been banned. I just want to reiterate that this isn't censorship. If Trump had his Twitter account permanently suspended, that's not an instance of censorship. That's simply an instance of Donald Trump violating Twitter's terms of service. That's it. It is quite literally the free market at work. And now these Republicans are coming in and saying that we need to regulate these companies, which sounds an awful lot like socialism. So you have the supposed free market Republicans who will fall over themselves to say that everything has to be privatized, everything has to be up to the free market. And then as soon as one of their people has to suffer the consequences of following the terms of service implemented by one of these free market companies, a private company, then suddenly everything needs to be regulated by the federal government. Suddenly the federal government needs to intervene and maybe take it over, which sounds an awful lot like socialism from the Republican Party. An awful lot like socialism. All this was for Donald Trump was him inciting violence on the Twitter platform, and then the platform not allowing him to continue using Twitter to continue inciting more violence. And so there's this cognitive dissonance where Republicans push back against the consequences of Donald Trump's actions without acknowledging those actions in the first place. Like, you can't push back against Donald Trump's Twitter account having been suspended without acknowledging why it was suspended in the first place. That should go without saying. And yet it's like all of these people were born the day that it was suspended and have no idea why it was suspended in the first place. I mentioned this on an earlier stream, but it's like somebody got arrested and then everybody haranguing the police for arresting someone without anyone bothering to ask why he was arrested in the first place. And in this case, the actions that caused all of this in the first place are beyond clear. He used that platform for months to sow the seeds of doubt with regard to the election being a free and fair election, a legitimate election. On a daily basis, he would pepper his supporters with this idea that the election was stolen and that there was fraud, despite the fact that there was zero evidence of fraud. Zero evidence over the course of 2 months. We have 64 cases in the courts, none of which proved any semblance of fraud, including when Trump and his allies went in front of judges who Trump himself appointed in Wisconsin, Georgia, 3rd Circuit, 7th Circuit, 11th Circuit, and 3 justices in the Supreme Court. None of them bought his bogus claims of fraud. Bill Barr and the DOJ said there was no fraud. Chris Krebs and the cybersecurity unit at the DHS said there was no fraud. Republican governors said there was no fraud. Secretaries of state have said there's no fraud. Voting systems vendors have said there was no fraud. Audits and recounts prove that there was no fraud. Giuliani went into court and said that he wasn't alleging fraud. And yet Donald Trump still used that platform to cry fraud on a daily basis. Every single day, still crying fraud. The name of the rally preceding the U.S. Capitol riot was the Stop the Steal rally. Stop the Steal refers to the fact that Donald Trump was claiming that the election was stolen from him. So you can't claim that the election was stolen on a daily basis and then deny all responsibility for the Stop the Steal rally that then devolved into an insurrection at the Capitol. These people aggregated together as a direct result of Trump's claims. You could draw a straight line from Trump's rhetoric about the election having been stolen to the violence that occurred at the Capitol. A straight line. It was literally named after the claims that he made. And so that's where we're at right now in terms of the moves made by Pelosi to try to counter some of this disdainful behavior by the Republicans. This comes after Donald Trump's impeachment this afternoon. He was impeached by the biggest raw number of votes of any president in history, the only president in history to have been impeached twice in his term. Now we get to the point where we will likely see a Senate trial that's going to occur at the earliest on January 19th, maybe January 20th, maybe somewhere around there. And what we're looking for is a conviction with 2/3 of the Senate. And I know that it might seem like it's pointless because Trump will already be out of office by then. But the point here is not necessarily to remove him from office. The point is to bar him from running for office again in the future. And so what we will need is 2/3 of the Senate to convict Donald Trump. And then they'll be able to vote again to bar. Once they get that conviction, they'll be able to vote again to bar him from running for office again. And that vote only requires a simple majority, which the Democrats already have by virtue of having won those 2 races in Georgia. So that's what we're looking forward to now. And by the way, even the Republican Party has a vested interest in making sure that Donald Trump can't run again. Because what he's shown now is A, he's willing to incite violence, incite an actual insurrection at the Capitol if he doesn't get his way, and continue to push his supporters down this hole of disinformation where they don't even believe objective reality. And B, he's already proven that he can't win a general election. He just proved it. I know that Republicans like to parade him around on their shoulders like he's some king because he got 74 million votes, which was more than any other Republican candidate in history. But guess what? He also got 81 million Democrats to vote against him. And so that's the number that matters. You can't prop up this number of 74 million votes in an election without acknowledging what the other guy got. And what the other guy got was 7 million more votes than Donald Trump. And so clearly, if you have Donald Trump at the top of the ticket, while he might control a major faction of the Republican base, what he doesn't control is the general electorate. And so clearly, people like the Republican Party more broadly have a vested interest in making sure that Donald Trump can't run. We're bedfellows here. The Republicans and Democrats are bedfellows here because Democrats don't want Donald Trump to be able to run in the future because look how dangerous he is. If he's given a megaphone to possibly run in 2024, well, then guess what? He can continue fomenting violence on a daily basis. And he might not be able to do it on Twitter, but there's a number of other platforms where he can reach people. And God knows that if he opens his mouth, that at least the mainstream media won't fall over itself to report on what he just said. And at the very least, we'll have Fox News, OAN, and Newsmax there. And so far, we've heard from Lisa Murkowski saying that she wants him out. We've heard from Mitch McConnell. We have reporting that he told his associates that he believed that Democrats have that Donald Trump has committed impeachable offenses. So, and by the way, he has no Twitter account now, so he can't even lash out at these people who finally have the opportunity to vote against him in an upcoming impeachment trial. He can't even lash out against them. So really, what are the downsides to these Republicans voting to ensure that Donald Trump can't run again? A, this country will be a safer place. And B, even Republicans have a better chance at winning. And this is me saying that. This is me acknowledging that Republicans will have a better chance at winning a general election if they run a candidate that isn't Donald Trump. And yet that's how important it is to get him out of here. That's how important it is to not run Donald Trump, even though he might be an easier candidate to beat, just because he is that dangerous to democracy. that dangerous on a daily basis to regular people. I mean, 5 people died in that insurrection itself, including a police officer and 4 of Trump's own supporters. And that's not to mention the number of protests that are planned across the country from Trump supporters as it is. In all 50 states, apparently, where the FBI sent their memo out. So again, Democrats and Republicans are bedfellows here. And all of those people have a vested interest on both sides of the aisle in making sure that Donald Trump won't be able to run again. So that's where we're at right now. It'll be interesting to see what happens with these lawmakers who try to evade these new punishments put forward. Again, if you're just joining, Nancy Pelosi's instituted punishments for lawmakers that seek to circumvent the metal detectors that have been installed at the entrance to the House chamber. Again, it's $5,000 for the first offense, $10,000 for the second offense, and for lawmakers who refuse to wear masks on the floor, it's going to be a $500 fine for the first offense and a $2,500 fine for the second offense. So, and I'm sure those fines will continue beyond that. Something that I think we can be sure of is that these people respond to money. And so if it's their own bank account taking a hit, I can almost guarantee you that suddenly there's going to be a change of attitude in store for these people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert and all these other patriots who want the freedom to be able to not wear a mask so they can get other members of Congress sick and hospitalized. And that is exactly what's happening. The freedom to not wear a mask so that their colleagues may end up dead. That's what this boils down to. But hey, at least they have freedom. At least they have the freedom to kill their colleagues if they need it. So that's where we're at right now. Thank you for bearing with me with the tech issues in the beginning. And I would just ask if you're not subscribed to my channel, if you can please subscribe. This live stream is going to be the last one I do for today, so I'm not publishing any videos today. I usually do breaking news videos every single day, but today it's just going to be the live stream. So all I would ask is if you could please subscribe. I don't do memberships or ask you to join anything or ask for money or anything like that. Just ask if you could subscribe if you're not yet subscribed. So with that said, thank you all for watching, and keep an eye on what happens in the House chamber. And let's see how many of these freedom-loving patriots who were hell-bent on wearing their masks and on not wearing their masks and carrying their guns with them are suddenly willing to risk their own money in the process, because something tells me that number is going to plummet significantly. So stay tuned.